Now, this is a prime example that the love of money is the root of all evil. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to KRSTV. This is your boy Kenny. Now, remember, subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you get notifications every time I drop a video. Also, follow all of the information I have in the description box. As well, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And this is my review of a YouTube original documentary called The Boy Band Con, The Lou Pearlman Story. And shout out to Lance Bass because he was the producer of this, and I have to say this has to be the best documentary I've seen on Lou Pearlman, because I did watch a documentary called American Greed where they showcased him, but I loved how Lance did this because he showed that there was a human quality to Lou Pearlman, that he wasn't just this monster, but the love of money turned him into a monster. And it was just, crazy because it was like, it just goes to show you that the love of money is the root of all evil. Notice I said the love of money, not money, because a lot of people get that confused that money is the root of all evil. No, money is an inanimate object. People are evil, and when people love money, they will sometimes put money above other valuable things in life, like friends, family, business relationships. Like, everybody is expendable to you when it comes down to that green, that bottom line. And we literally saw, even early on, that we really kind of got somewhat of a psychoanalysis of who Lou Pearlman was. That he grew up, he's from Queens, New York. He pretty much was a guy who, was pretty much a fat kid who got picked on, and the only real friend he had was this guy named Alan Gross, and they shared a love of airplanes and blips, and pretty much early on, Lou Pearlman was a loner. But he had told one friend is that, yeah, hardly nobody likes me, but when I become rich, everybody's gonna love me. So that kind of started breeding the bad seed in his mind that by him having all of this stuff and these accolades was going to make him beloved. And it was clearly obvious that this was a man who didn't have much love for himself, and he looked outside of himself for validation. And even to the point where him and his best friend Alan, they got a job, working on blips with Goodyear. And they decided to develop their own company, Airship International, where they were going to design blips themselves. And they did one for Jordache, and the blip was in bad condition. It was they only I think bought it for $10,000, but secretly Lou, of course the blimp had crashed because it was in bad condition, but Lou started to show this sinister side even early on, before he even got with Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. He insured the blip for $3 million and cut Alan out of it. So Alan really was a friend that was jaded, and this was your best friend. This was somebody you grew up with, and you shitted him down the river for $3 million. And from that point on, he was like real cold. And there was even one point when they was having a conversation, he was like, I put it out there, to the fact that you're the only enemy I have, and if something were to happen to me, I let the district office know that to look into you. And Alan's like, boy, please. I think anybody who call you an enemy, they'll be proud of it. And he's like, who? He's like, I'm not going to name names. I'm like, bruh, you pissed off a lot of people. Trust me, you had a shitload of enemies far bigger than Alan. And Alan really was a really nice guy. Rest in peace to him, because he had passed away in 2018 after this documentary was completed. And I think it was posted, of April of April of this year. But I just recently found it and watched it twice, and I was completely enamored with it because they did show that he at first did not start as a bad person, but he wanted to be beloved and wanted to be accepted so much that his greed drove him to screw people over. And we even see that Lance Bass, he had, they showed him talking with his mother. Him and his mother have a great relationship. It kind of reminds me of the relationship I have with my mom. We're like the best of friends and we can talk about anything. And we see that him and his mother have a very good kinship. And he was telling his mom that this is crazy because it shows that this man has been doing this to the 80s. So when it came to us, we were another opportunity to get rich and to get thrown away, just like he did his best friend. So, and also you had, Chris, JC from NSYNC, and also AJ from the Backstreet Boys. They were on this documentary. And the thing about it, this is what Lou did with them is a typical situation in show business. We've heard this situation with New Edition. We've heard about it with TLC, Tony Braxton, many others who pretty much were robbed signing bad contracts. And, they were victims of this. They signed a contract. Lou was considered like Big Papa. He was kind of like a father figure to a lot of these boys who didn't have fathers in their lives, and whatever they wanted, he gave them. I mean, he pretty much opened everything to them. His home. He was rich. He had this big mansion. I remember that mansion. That mansion was beautiful, and he was everything to these guys. He would take them out on these nice dinners and all of that. And Lance Bass says that all of it came crushing down, because they are pandemonium. And it's unfortunate because Lou Pearlman should be remembered as a music icon because he created a genre of music that literally took the world over. I mean, that boy band craze in the 90s was everything. You couldn't go anywhere without hearing about the Backstreet Boys or NSYNC. It was pandemonium everywhere. It was pretty much like the Beatles and the Supremes, in their heyday. They had that same type of effect internationally. It was because of the boy band craze is what created TRL. Y'all remember TRL? TRL was the jump. You would go in there and there would always be thousands of girls just screaming. They didn't care who was on the other side of the window, but they knew. But if they heard that the Backstreet Boys or NSYNC was there, oh, trust me, they was there big. And it became somewhat a platform for other celebrities to showcase as well. So the boy band craze really changed the face of music. And it's unfortunate that Lou Pearlman, instead of being recognized as a music genius and as a icon of music, he will be forever remembered as a criminal. And that's the sad thing, because his greed went entirely too far. And here it is, the first group he had was the Backstreet Boys. They were thriving, selling out everywhere. He kind of created like this boot camp where, they were dancing, learning how to sing in the mic without being out of breath, taking voice lessons. He literally had them working all the time. There were no days off. And there was a situation where they were asked to do this Disney special. They were so tired out from touring and everything, they chose not to do it. So Lou decides to put NSYNC on. And we come to find out that this whole beef between Backstreet Boys and NSYNC was all created through him. And the funny thing about it, he managed both groups. So he kind of kept that tension between them. So he was saying that, even if one of them was in the room, we wouldn't even speak to one of them because there was this beef and animosity that really was just created by Ron. But that really was created by Lou. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call him Ron. But it was really it was all hype. And it was like, here it is. We choose not to do one show. He puts NSYNC on, and NSYNC explodes, and they become just as big and popular as the Backstreet Boys. So here it is. These two boy bands are literally competing for the top, and they're managed by the same man, Lou Pearlman. But things began to crush down because here was they were getting all of this special treatment. He was whining and dining them. He would let them, have parties at his house and all of that. Well, Lance said that it all came crushing down when here it is, we were working for 2 years nonstop, no breaks whatsoever. And we go to dinner with him, and we go to this luxurious restaurant, high quality, and he presents our checks to us, and he says they were there with their families. And when Lance said he opened that check, his heart dropped because the check was only $10,000. Talk about a ripoff. Talk about literally working for 2 years to make someone rich, and all you got was peanuts. Now, this is a cautionary tale, which happens to a lot of people. And I even remember, when I was a teenager, they had this thing on TV called Making the Band, and they showcased his group O-Town, one of the last groups he had, on Transcontinental Records. And then another thing, he put Orlando, Florida on the map as being like a music capital, no different than what Berry Gordy did with Detroit with Motown. But it really just goes to show that here it is, you're thinking this guy was investing in you guys, and you thought that you've been doing all this work and you were expecting a big pay, but all you got was $10,000 out of 2 years. And Lance was like, I felt so insulted and disrespected. He said, I went back to my room and tore that damn check up. And I was like, I don't blame you, because it was an insult. And then they come to find out that that contract they signed, it was a lot that was going on with that contract. One, he named himself the 6th member of the group. So whatever they got, Lou got a cut of that as well. And another thing that they had in that contract, that he was 90% owner, and they only got 10% out of everything. Talk about getting a small piece when you're the one who created the pie. And this happens in the music in the music business, where a lot of times when you go into these labels, you get like what they call like a slave contract. But the thing is, once the act becomes popular and you see that they have a strong effect on the populace, you're supposed to go back and change the conditions. Well, a lot of these labels do not. And the thing is, it just goes to show that a lot of these people are green. They want to get into the business. They want the glitz and the glam, because us who as viewers, we only see the glitz and the glam. We don't see what's going on behind the scenes. And I think there's a lot of reasons behind that, because if people really saw the truth, a lot of people would think twice about being famous. But, this shit was crazy. And, Lance pretty much said that him and the group decided that we need to either renegotiate our contract, or we need to just get rid of Lou Pearlman altogether. Lou turned into a cold-hearted bastard, according to Lance, because he was like, I made you guys, you wouldn't be nothing without me, so it's 10% of nothing, and that's the bottom line. And then eventually he took them to court to sue them, because they wanted to get out of their contract because he wouldn't renegotiate with them. Because, even Tupac's mother, Afeni Shakur, rest in peace to her, I saw her in a documentary, and she says that, look, you're not going to be in the industry in any form and not get exploited. But when you become successful, you're supposed to go back and make them change it. They're not supposed to hold on to that deal. If now you're famous and you're successful, that means you now have the power. Because starting off, The label has the power because the label is putting in the money and all of that. But once you become successful, you're supposed to change those conditions, because you can't just have these people working and you don't pay them anything. Like, no, that's not real. And they pretty much said the same thing about Lou. Like, Lou wanted to keep them working as like his personal slaves, where he would just give them crumbs, but he would make all the money. He made money, the promoters made money, but they didn't make anything, and they were the act. And then he pretty much told the judge that he was NSYNC, and they also wanted rights to their name. The judge pretty much was actually a fan, where her daughter was. She says, "So you mean to tell me that my daughter has a poster of these boys and it says the name NSYNC and they're not the group you are?" No, that don't make no damn sense. So they got out of their contract because, the judge sided in their favor. They were able to keep the name NSYNC, and they got out of that contract. The Backstreet Boys, on the other hand, they pretty much rounded up some money and they pretty much bought Lou out, and then they were free of him. But, we come to find out that he had other groups, and he also had a solo artist, Aaron Carter, whose brother Nick Carter was with the Backstreet Boys. Aaron Carter pretty much was selling 5 million units at the age of 10. And we can see in this interview that Aaron Carter, I think, really had this strong loyalty to Lou Pearlman. And I think it's because he kind of saw Lou as like a father figure, because he did come from a dysfunctional home. And, a lot of the stuff that Aaron went through is legend. We know about this. So when he was kind of defending Lou, I was kind of looking at him sideways like, really, bruh? This man was robbing all these people and you're defending him? But then again, I think he had a special relationship with Lou, and he really loved Lou as a person. And he doesn't like the fact that people were trashing him. But in all actuality, he may have appeared to be good, but his actions speak louder than words. And his actions prove that Lou was about Lou. And also, I remember watching Making the Band with O-Town, and I remember I was watching an episode with my brother Kyle and my cousin Stanley. Shout out to you guys. We were watching this episode, and we literally saw these guys signing contracts. Even the ones that didn't even make it into the group, they were literally signing contracts without attorneys, without reading the fine print. And I was thinking, wow, this is no different than what happened with New Edition. This is no different than what happened with TLC. This is no different what happened with Tony Braxton. Like, they signed the contract and they don't really have it reviewed by an entertainment lawyer, and they really don't know everything that's in it. And a lot of times that happens in these contracts is what they call double dipping, where they have their hand in every pot across the line. So that person is getting paid, and at the end of the day, money that's supposed to be yours, it's going to them. And we were reacting to it. We was like, what the hell is going on here? These fools are just signing the contract and not reading it, and you're signing your life over to this? This is crazy. And by this time, we already knew what happened between the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, which is why when NSYNC did the album No Strings Attached, that became pandemonium for more reasons than one, because they just got freed from Lou Pearlman, but yet they proved that they were still a force even without him. That, yeah, you may gave us the opportunity, but we put in the work, and we deserve that name, and we deserve the notoriety and the fame and the fortune that we worked so hard to achieve. So No Strings Attached was a success. And, they end up getting their own deal with Jive Records, and they continue to sell records. And I think about 2 years ago, they got their star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So NSYNC is still a force. And then Justin Timberlake became, a big star in his own right as a solo artist. So they made a good move. Backstreet Boys, pretty much the same. They still sell out worldwide. They're still a force out here. And it's just sad that this man not only screwed over these groups and his best friend, he then began to screw over elderly people within this investment scheme called Transcon, where it's supposed to be investment insurance, where you invest in it and you're supposed to get your money. But it turns out it was a Ponzi scheme, and he ripped over 2,100 people. So then, but then they also said that there was and on another thing that he did, that Lou Pearlman put a lot of money and owned a lot of businesses like the TCBY, Chippendales, and also this modeling firm called Options Talent. But before he even got that firm was being investigated by the federal government because of a lot of shady business dealings. So there was a woman whose name was Jacqueline Downs. She was an assistant federal attorney that was put onto the case of Lou. And if she would have been able to follow her investigation, Lou would have been stopped dead in his tracks before he was able to screw over, the elderly individuals who invested in his insurance scam. And here it is, while she was doing her investigation, the attorney general, they got a new attorney general, which is now Congressman Charlie Crist. And Lou Pearlman invested a lot of money in his campaign, so allegedly Charlie Crist looked the other way when it came down to issues involving Lou Pearlman, because Lou and Pearlman helped him to get in office. And he also denied to be a part of the documentary. But Jacqueline said that after he became the attorney general, pretty much they kind of shut down her operation and that her services were no longer needed. And she even said that she went to the location to see how this business was running, and she saw that the thing was odd because she went in, there were people working in cubicles and everything, but nobody looked up. And she thought that was odd because she said that even in my office, if somebody comes in, everybody's looking to see who it is. Like, who are you? What are you doing here? What you want? That was not going on there. So she in her own mind thought that this situation was staged, which clearly she found out that it was. But if she was able to follow her investigation, Lou would have been stopped then, but they shut her down. So Lou Pearlman continued on with the Transcon investment scheme, which was a Ponzi scheme where people were investing, and then some of the money that was coming in, he was paying some of the old people who got onto it, and then eventually the things blows up because the money's not flowing in, and you can't pay people back. People wanted their money back. People were asking, where are our checks? We're supposed to be getting checks from this, and we haven't received any money. And it got to the point where finally the FBI seized his home, but he done bailed and hauled ass. And I remember when that happened, he was like all over the world, everywhere, like no one could find him. He just hopped from place to place, but they got all the documents, and they not only got him on, because he was even getting loans from banks. So they not only got him on bank fraud, but they also got him on investment fraud, investment fraud, as well as money laundering. So he knew that his day of reckoning was coming, and here it is. He was hopping all over the world with the money that he robbed people of, and he was just moving from place to place to place. Eventually, they found him in Bali. And it so happens the FBI agents who were sent to get him, they stopped to have breakfast and tripped this. They sitting at this table. Lou Pearlman is literally sitting right across from them, diagonally from them. And when I saw that, I was like, damn. So it's like your chickens came home to roost. And they arrested him, and they gave him 25 years. And he ended up dying in prison in 2016. And it's unfortunate that this man should be celebrated as an icon, but he will forever be remembered as a criminal, and it was all due to his greed and love of money. And because of your love of money, you are willing, and because of his love of money, he literally hurt and destroyed a lot of innocent people, especially the elderly people who invested their life savings into him, and they lost money that they can't work to get back because they're retired. I mean, this is criminal all the way. And I think that the issue with Lou Pearlman is that he suffered from low self-esteem. He was narcissistic, and he had what of a god complex. He thought that he was invincible and that he can do whatever and say whatever and do whatever, and never thought that there were consequences and repercussions for his actions. And they also kind of alleged in here that Lou Pearlman was possibly a closeted homosexual because he would always want to rub the guys' bodies and shoulders and stuff. And some of them talked about it. Even Ashley from O Town, he said that he had, said that, I went to school for psychology, and he was a college graduate. And he said that he started massaging his shoulders, and his manager had called Lou on the phone, and Ashley said, I hauled ass and got up out of there. So that was alarming. And then Nikki, who was one of the girls in the group Innocence, I actually remember them, she even talked about that when it came down to that contract, she took it to her entertainment lawyer, and he said that you would be crazy to sign that because you'd be signing your life away. But she signed it anyway. But then when it came down to signing the 6-man agreement, meaning he's the 6th person in the group, the same thing he did with the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and all of the other groups, she refused to sign that because with that also came with a confidentiality agreement. And she said, I will never sign that because I will not be silent and not tell what you did. And he pretty much let her know that he had life insurance on her. So tread lightly. So for years, this woman kind of lived in fear of retaliation from him. But this was a really good documentary. It was very educational. It was very insightful. In all honesty, I don't hate Lou Pearlman. I feel sorry for him. I really do. Because he looked outwardly for his own validation instead of learning to love himself. And I don't think he did. And he was always searching for people to accept him. I mean, here it is. The Backstreet Boys and NSYNC looked at him as a father figure. He loved that, but yet was screwing them. He would take them out to these nice dinners and stuff like that. But that was all recoupability. And I even learned that from Toni Braxton when she said that, before you see any money, they're going to get all their money back. And you thinking that, this is Big Papa taking you out to dinner, celebrating, baby, the dinner's on you. Because he's going to get his money back for taking you out to dinner. And I remember Missy Elliott in a documentary even said that yeah, don't be thinking them dinners are free, honey. No, baby, dinner's on you. So they're going to get that back before you see anything. And, recoupability is kind of known in the industry, especially when you don't have any money, and they're investing in you because you're their product. But the thing is, you can't continue this relationship where you get all the money and the group gets nothing. These people are working their asses off. Their faces are all over the world. They're going on interviews and, making television appearances, doing concerts, going tours. And you think that they're just supposed to just sit around and get paid peanuts. It doesn't work like that. So this was a hindsight into the fact that the whole idea of the entertainment business is exactly in the name. There's entertainment and then there's business. And if you don't pay attention to your business, somebody else will, and someone else will be ranking the chips, and you will be left standing with your pockets empty. So that's what I have, y'all. Get down in those comments and let me know your thoughts on this documentary. I thought it was very well done. Again, shout out to Lance Bass and everyone that participated in it. I thought it's probably the best documentary they did on Lou Pearlman because we did get to see Pearlman as a human being who made bad decisions, and obviously a human being who literally had issues, and it spewed over to the point where his greed is what led to his demise. So, yeah, get down in those comments and let me know your thoughts. And until next time, everybody, take care.